Do you ever wonder how some people build wealth in their sleep while others spend their lives chasing paychecks? It's not just hard work, it's understanding a few key money principles no one ever really teaches us. Until now. Welcome to Easy Peasy, where we take big confusing topics in money, tech and the modern world and make them actually make sense. If you've ever thought, why didn't they teach me this in school? You're in the right place. This series is all about making sense of investing, what it is, how it works, and the key concepts rich people love like debt, leverage, limited companies, and compound interest. We'll also look at how you can use those ideas to invest like a pro in things like real estate, stocks, bonds, or even crypto, and how that can grow your wealth over time. This first video is your entry point. We'll cover the core concepts and language you'll need to navigate the world of investing with confidence. Alright, let's start with the very basics. What even is an investment? At its core, investing just means using your money to buy something that you hope will make you more money over time. That something is called an asset. Basically anything you own that has value and the potential to grow or earn income. It could be a house, a rare watch, some shares in a company, crypto, or even your own side hustle. Now, when we talk about how assets can make you money, there are two main ways you should know about. The first one is capital appreciation. Let's break this down. In the investing world, the term capital refers to the initial money you invest in order to make more money. Appreciation simply means an increase in value over time. So, capital appreciation is basically making money by buying something at a specific price and selling it at a higher one. For example, imagine you buy a vintage watch or house. You hold on to it and a few years later, it's gone up in value. If you sell it for more than you paid, then you've made a profit, which is also called a capital gain. The second way assets make you money is through income generating investments. This is when the thing you buy regularly pays you money, almost like having an extra paycheck at the end of each month. Of course, in some cases, you'll also need to spend a bit to keep that investment running smoothly. A classic example is owning a rental property. It brings in rent every month, but you'll also have expenses like your mortgage, insurance, or maintenance costs to keep the property in good shape. The difference between the money coming in and the money going out is called cash flow. Cash flow is a key concept in investing, because it shows you the overall direction of your money. If your cash flow is positive, more money is flowing into your pocket. If it's negative, money is slowly flowing out, and over time, that can really add up. This is exactly why people chasing financial freedom try to buy enough of these income-generating assets to cover their living costs, so they don't have to rely on a job anymore. It is at the heart of what is called the cash flow strategy. Buy a lot of assets that pay you consistently instead of just hoping to sell them later for a big lump sum. Now, to really understand the cash flow strategy, we need to talk about a big concept in finance: interest. For that, imagine the following very realistic scenario. You lend someone, say Brad Pitt, $1,000. He agrees to pay you back in a year with an extra $50 as a thank you. That $50 is interest. So, what is interest? Interest is the cost of borrowing money. Whenever someone, whether a person, a business, or even a government, borrows cash, they usually have to pay a small extra for the privilege of using that cash. That payment is interest. From your side, as the lender or investor, interest is your reward for letting someone else use your money. They get the funds they need now, and you earn money over time for helping them out. Let's do the math real quick. If you lend $1,000 at a 4% interest rate, that means that after 1 year, you'll earn $40. That $40 is your income, your cash flow, and the $1,000 is your capital. But here's the thing, not every loan or investment pays you back in the same way or on the same timeline. And if you want to become a great investor, you need to understand these differences. Which brings us to another important detail. What happens at the end of the loan? In finance, there's a term for that. It's called the maturity date. That's just a fancy way of saying, I agree to lend you money, but I expect to get that money back at a specific date, along with an extra fee for using my money during that time. So, if you lend someone money with a maturity of 5 years, it means that at the end of those 5 years, you'll have recovered your initial capital plus that small reward. However, how the money flows back into your pocket over those 5 years depends on the type of loan you've agreed to. Great! With that in mind, we can now start exploring the most common types of loans you'll need to know about in the world of investing. To start with, we have interest-only loans. With these, the borrower pays you just the interest each year and returns all the capital only at the very end. For example, imagine Joe is a barista and his job is to make people taste a bit of heaven every day. Joe decides he wants to run his own coffee cart business. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough money to buy the cart on his own. He might approach you with an interest-only loan, where you would agree to lend him $10,000 at a 5% interest rate with a maturity date of 6 years. This allows him to buy the coffee cart and start selling coffee to his customers.
Thank you.
With that new money he earns, he has to pay you back $500 at the end of each year, but he will also have to pay you back the original $10,000 at the end of the 6th year. This setup is pretty common with assets like bonds or corporate loans, which we'll explore in more detail in future videos. It's great if you want steady income, but the downside is your money's tied up until the very end. Let's now look at another type of loan called an amortizing loan. To explain how it works, let's look at the most common example of an amortizing loan, which is a mortgage. So, what exactly is a mortgage? A mortgage is basically a loan where the lender is usually a bank and the borrower a citizen like you or me, but with a specific purpose of buying a house, with the house acting as collateral. It means that if at some point the person that borrowed money to buy the house can't pay it back, the lender has the legal right to seize the house and sell it to get their money back. More generally, if someone lends you money and you've agreed to give something as collateral as part of the deal, it means that if you stop paying back the lender, they have the right to take that something and sell it to recover the money you owe them. This is useful because it gives some additional security to the lender that they won't lose their money. Now, while this might sound dangerous from the borrower's side, it's actually at the core of how the rich get richer using tricks like Lombard loans, which we'll cover in a future video. Alright, so now we know what a mortgage is and that it's a type of amortizing loan. But how does it actually work? With an amortizing loan, the borrower usually makes monthly or yearly payments, and each payment is split into two parts. The interest, this is what the borrower pays you for using your money. The capital, also called principal. This is the portion that pays back the original loan amount. Now, here's the interesting part. At the start, most of that payment goes towards interest, and only a small chunk pays down the capital. But over time, that balance flips, and more of the payment starts chipping away at the loan itself. Don't worry, we'll break down exactly why that happens in the video dedicated to real estate investments. The key thing to remember for now is this. You're not waiting until the very end to get your money back. If we compare it to the interest-only loan, you can see that in this case, we're getting it back bit by bit, every single month, plus interest. That means your investment becomes more predictable and your risk goes down as more of your capital returns to your pocket. Not all loans have fixed, predictable payments. That brings us to another type, variable rate loans, also called floating rate loans. With this kind of loan, the interest rate isn't fixed. It can change over time. So instead of paying 3% every year like in a fixed rate loan, the borrower might pay more the following year, but a lot less the year after that. That means their monthly payments can go up or down depending on how the rate moves. You can actually see this in mortgages. In the US, most people go for long-term fixed-rate mortgages, where your payments stay the same for 15 to 30 years. But in places like the UK, it's more common to have short-term fixed deals, like 2 or 5 years, which then switch to a variable rate, so the cost of the loan can change over time. To convince you of how important these changes can be, here's what happened to Sarah, a lawyer in Manchester, who took a mortgage in 2021 to buy her house. She borrowed £500,000 from the bank at a 1.5% interest rate. Her monthly repayment was around £2,000. Unfortunately, after COVID, interest rates suddenly increased massively, and her variable rate mortgage meant that fast forward to 2024, her interest rate had jumped to 6%.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
She then had to start paying £3,200 back every month, an increase of £1,200 from just a few years before. Fortunately, she could afford to pay this back, but not everyone can, in which case the bank would have sold the house to recover its money. Now, my point with this example is not to scare you, but rather convince you of how important it is to understand how money works in order to become a great investor. So from an investor's point of view, variable rate loans can feel a bit like a roller coaster because the money coming into your pocket every month or every year isn't guaranteed to stay the same. But that unpredictability can work in your favor too. If interest rates go up, you can actually earn more than with a fixed rate loan. But what leads interest rates to move up or down in the first place? Well, it's interesting and complex enough that I'm dedicating an entire other video to it. Now, while there are multiple other types of loans, like balloon loans or bridge loans, those get into deeper finance territory and are less common in the world of investing. If you're curious about how they work, let me know in the comments. So to summarize, what should you care about as an investor when considering an income-generating asset? Here are the 3 big questions to always keep in mind. How often and how much do you get paid? Is the asset providing monthly payments at a 5% interest rate or yearly payments at a 7% rate? When do you get your money back? Is it locked for 2 years or 20? What exactly happens at the maturity date? Do you get all your initial capital back, or is this slowly paid back over time? These details help you figure out how risky or rewarding an investment really is. Generally, if your money is locked up longer or the investment feels riskier, you'll want a higher interest rate to make it worthwhile. To wrap up this video, the key takeaway I want you to understand here is this. Investing is about using your money to buy assets that make you money for you in your sleep. Either by bringing in regular income, like renting a house or buying bonds, or by growing in value, like Bitcoin or gold, and selling them for a profit. Sometimes they might do both. If you buy a house, rent it for 10 years, and then sell it for more than you paid for it, then that house generated both cash flow and a profit. Sometimes they can also do neither. If you bought Bitcoin in November 2021 and sold it 1 year later, you would have made a huge loss on your investment. Understanding the difference is what makes someone a smart investor. Now that you've got a handle on what an investment is, and you understand the basics like capital, cash flow, and interest, you're ready for the next big question. What makes an investment actually good? In the next video, we'll break down concepts like yield, ROI, liquidity, volatility, and risk, and show you how to figure out if an investment is worth your time and your money. See you there.